Hi, this is Jason Major, and with the biblical cinematic universe. Behind me is my movie collection, and it starts from the book of Genesis all the way through the book of the end of the New Testament. I have them in biblical order, first by Bible story, and then by release date, and then so you have like the book of Genesis here, then you have like Noah's Ark here, then you have Joseph, and then you have Moses, followed by the Old Testament stories. And over here you have the Nativity story, followed by Life of Christ stories, all the way to the Passion of Christ, and then the end of New Testament. So this series of the Biblical Cinematic Universe is going to start with a new review of the Bible, 1966. This movie was directed by John Huston, who also stars as Noah, and famous stars that you might know include Ava Gardner and George C. Scott, John Huston, Richard Harris, who were famous back in their day. Stephen Boyd was famous for Ben-Hur, which we'll eventually get to. And Peter O'Toole, he was most famous for Lawrence of Arabia. And for comic book nerds, he was famous as Supergirl's uncle. And so this movie covers from the opening of the book of Genesis to the Adam and Eve story, Cain and Abel, and then gets into the generations that are in between there, to including Tubal Cain, and then also the Noah story in the first half, and then there's an intermission. And in the second half, we cover the Tower of Babel, quickly go over the generations between then, and then going through the life of Abraham up until the point where, of including Sodom and Gomorrah, as well as getting to the point where we have Ishmael and then Isaac. So that's kind of where the story follows under. And it's a 3-hour movie. I found this movie to be biblically epic. When I first reviewed it, I gave it like a 7 out of 10, but I now give it an 8 out of 10. It is visually stunning to watch. Remember that they didn't have the special effects that we have now. So you have, like, for example, the Noah sequence is really amazing because it's using a lot of real animals and a lot of cool special effects to create the flood sequence, for example. And then also, like, in terms of the first half, like, there's just there's a lot of cool use of nature to establish the creation of mankind and the creation of the world. That's kind of well done. I thought that the acting was really good, and that the narrative choices and the drama choices for the acting was really good in all the movie, for all the performances. And then in the second half, really showcases the love that they put into this movie. So a scene like the Tower of Babel is a very short scene in the movie, but there's like hundreds of extras in that scene, and it's clear that there's just like and they're all like, you know what I mean, and just fully developing the scene and the world that you can imagine in terms of the early Bible stories of Genesis. And then the second half of the movie really focuses on Abraham and kind of his family struggles that we know about. And Sodom and Gomorrah is also presented really well. That's a really cool action piece. You get a sense of why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed in this one, and it's not just it's just out of vileness, basically. There's a cool sequence with Peter O'Toole playing the three angels. He plays all three angels, so like you'll see like his face only on one of the angels at a time. That was a kind of a cool idea, and there's also a cool action sequence with Abraham going to war, which again involves hundreds of extra. So there's a lot of scenes where there's like hundreds of extras in this movie. And then the movie ends, spoiler, around the story of Abraham and Isaac, him sacrificing his son. And so I thought that in terms of just being covering the first half of the book of Genesis, it is a well-told story. In rewatching it, it really keeps moving because there's so many stories to tell. The intermission is helpful because it is a 3-hour movie, but there's just I would recommend this really highly in terms of an introduction if you're looking for a movie based on Genesis and particularly the Noah story and the Abraham story. This is probably the best, one of the best early Genesis movies ever that I've seen out of my collection. We'll get through Noah and all the other versions of Noah later, but this is probably the best one that is based on the stories of Noah and Abraham in my collection at this point. So I highly recommend this. And I say that one last thing I would say is that the musical score is really wonderful as well. I really enjoyed that, and I look forward to sharing more with you about the biblical cinematic universe and going through all these movies. Have fun and talk to you soon. Bye.